You're watching Reality Check. New data which shows hunger in India amongst children has worsened or stagnated, has sent shockwaves. Stunting, wasting, underweight children, percentages on the rise. Telangana, Kerala, Bihar amongst the worst performing states. This is a surprise, even developed states are performing poorly. Maharashtra, Gujarat, Telangana all are seeing rise in malnutrition. In 12 out of 22 states, union territories, wasting amongst children has increased. Now, what has been startling is that the worst performers, as I mentioned, are not just the traditional Hindi belt or the poorer states. Major states with the highest percentage of stunted children under 5 years, Bihar is on top at 43%, but right after is Gujarat at 39%, Karnataka 35%, Assam and Maharashtra coming up next. Again, look at major states with the highest percentage of underweight children under 5 years. Again, it's Bihar on top, but then right after that again is Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Assam. And major states with the highest percentage of children with wasting under 5 years, again Maharashtra, Gujarat on top, Bihar, Assam, Telangana all follow. The worst performing major states, in stunting, Telangana, it's 5 percentage points up. In wasting, Telangana, again 4 percentage points up. Underweight, Kerala, 4 percentage points up. That said, the caveat is the new data is only partial, covering only certain states. The findings of key states that routinely underperform, like Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and so on, are yet to be made public. Now, for researchers and policymakers, decoding the reasons for this throws up no surprises. They've been pointing to how moderate gains made in reducing child hunger and malnutrition may have been reversed by cutting back on spending on crucial food security programs like midday meals and Anganwadis. If you look at budget allotment in 2013-14 for midday meals, 13,200 crores, in 2020-21 rupees 11,000 crore. Also, the government's key nutrition scheme, is it missing its targets? This is the flagship Poshan Abhiyan, meant to reduce malnutrition. The goals they set is by 6% in 3 years. But only 9,000 crore rupees has been allotted in 3 years for reducing malnutrition, which seems a very small amount given the scale of the ambition. Also, it appears that only 41% of the Poshan funds have been utilized in 29-20. So, is it a long way from meeting its targets? These are the questions before us tonight. All right, joining us on the program, we have Dr. K. Srinath Reddy, President, Public Health Foundation of India; Ritika Khera, Associate Professor, Economics, IIT Delhi; Prashanta Tripathi, Community Health Specialist, is there joining us from Jharkhand; and Lalita Kumaramangalam, Director, India Foundation, member of the BJP, is with us. Now, when we look at this, Dr. K. Srinath Reddy, what is the thing that jumps out to you most? Because the numbers appear to be either stagnating or getting worse. Is the main problem that because of this question of constantly underfunding and not enough support to these crucial nutrition programs? Is that at the root of it? Okay, we'll just come back to you in just a second. I think you may have muted yourself, so if you want to just unmute yourself, we'll come back to you in just a second. Let's have another go. Yes, Srinath Reddy, go ahead.
Which are basically stunting, which is more representative of chronic malnutrition.
Yes.
And second is wasting, which is representative of acute malnutrition. So we have to look at why this is happening in terms of both the cases. It is possible that there are factors which are actually reducing the food supply in the immediate near time because of multiple economic shocks that families may be facing. But stunting, which is the more worrisome form of chronic malnutrition, has multiple effects on cognitive growth, on susceptibility to infections, as well as has long-term consequences in terms of predisposing the child, when the child grows up, to even early onset of diabetes and heart disease, that connection has been very well established.
Right.
Because the genetic expression is altered as a result
Yes.
of early life malnutrition and sets the stage for chronic diseases in adulthood.
But what is
So we have to look at whether
why?
there are issues related to food supply, sanitation, which also is an important element that interferes, and also the family income in terms of purchasing capacity and the quality of nutrition that is being provided, whether
Sure.
in the family or in school or in the preschool
Right.
Anganwadis. All of these factors need to be examined very carefully to see where the
These are-
problems lie, and they
Okay.
need to be remedied.
These are sort of the standard indicators of looking at why there's been a worsening or there's been a stagnation. But Ritika Khera, the same question to you, that would you say that at the core of it is the fact that these crucial programs are underfunded, or in some cases there's even been a cutback of funding, though the government may argue that part of this is because they're now devolving more and more of the funding to the states. Is that a credible argument?
Yes. So, as Dr. Reddy said, some of these indicators are indicators of chronic undernutrition, and the problem of low funding is also a chronic problem in India. It has always been the case that we spend too little on programs for women and children, especially children under 6, which is the age group to target if you're concerned about undernutrition. Like you said, for some programs, funding has actually gone down in nominal terms. And if you take into account inflation, the picture is even worse. And if you
Right.
take into account as a percentage of GDP,
Yeah.
it won't look very healthy either. That's one part of the problem. The second part of the problem, which is quite important and which has exacerbated in the past few years, I think, is the flow of funds issue. One of them, of course, is, like you said, the 14th Finance Commission increased the funds that are devolved to the states, but those funds are not flowing very smoothly, as we know. We have seen this tussle between the center and the states over GST refunds. But the other part of the flow of funds problem is that for things like DBT, for instance, one important program is the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana,
Right.
which is a cash
DBT is
transfer
direct
for
benefit
pregnant.
transfer. Sorry, yes, go ahead.
That's right. Yeah. So there is it's supposed to give 5,000 rupees to pregnant and lactating women for the first child.
Yes.
But according to a Niti Aayog study, 1 in 3 payments, 28% of the payments are going into the wrong account. And these are Aadhaar linked problems. So
Right.
there are flow of funds issues at the macro level, which is like the 14th Finance Commission related issues. And then there are the so-called technological advancements, which are actually creating hurdles. And this
Right.
is, of course, happening across all DBT programs.
Okay. So these are some of the core reasons. Now, Lalita Kumaramangalam, this is not a new, like malnutrition, stunting. These are all
No.
chronic problems. They've been with us for a
Yes.
long time. But
Yes.
the fact is that shouldn't there be, especially now, given the fact that we've come out or we're still in a pandemic, we should actually be increasing funding to these schemes. But actually, as we look at the numbers, they're very small, just 9,000 crores for this Poshan scheme for 3 years, 3,000 crores a year to fix
Vasu,
malnutrition.
Yeah, I find myself in agreement with all of you today, and let me emphasize, I'm not here as either the director of the India Foundation, though I am that, or a member of the BJP. I have worked with women for 35 years, and women means you work with children too. As you've said, these are old problems. They have been around for far too long.
Yes.
The budget, both at state and central levels, must be increased for health. I find there's very little coordination between ministries that deal with this. You have ICDS in one place, you have noon meal scheme in another place. There's no coordination between the agencies, whether it's at center or at state level. And this really doesn't have much to do, as you pointed out right in the beginning, with whether you're industrialized, urbanized or not. The fact is that women are very rarely involved in these programs.
Right.
Mothers are the people who deal with their children's nutrition. Illiterate and poorly literate women who don't have access to, who have neither agency nor autonomy, especially when
Sure.
it comes to spending for their home and food. And again, as been mentioned for the girl child, they don't know what nutrition means. They really don't know what it means.
Okay.
In sanitary conditions, obviously, again, mothers
So-
are often the people who, deal with it.
Yes.
We need much bigger, I wouldn't just say private-public partnership. I think we need to have the beneficiaries of the scheme to become partners.
Okay, but at the
we need far more investment. One moment.
But at the starting point, certainly more public investment.
We also need to have more money put into the Anganwadis.
Okay.
Because most poor women work.
Okay.
And their children don't get fed well enough, partly because they don't have the time or the energy to give to that.
Okay. Let me get Dr. Prasanta Tripathi, as he said, community health specialist from Jharkhand. Sir, now Jharkhand, of course, the numbers are not out yet, because that's possibly part of the second set of data that will come out of the family health survey. But you're on the ground in Jharkhand. Are you also seeing a stagnation or a worsening? And again, if that is indeed the case, sir, what are the reasons for it?
See, we have data for so many states, and we have seen that either things have been reversed or stagnated. Mention was made about stunting. I'm also worried about the percentage of children who are severely wasted, which is wait for length.
So what's happening in Jharkhand, sir?
Yeah, I am just coming to that. This is in many places, especially in the underserved areas of Jharkhand, it is intergenerational poverty and impoverization that continues. So children are born with low birth weight. At least 40% children in some of the districts are low birth weight babies.
Right.
And then, if there is no maternity benefit, and especially for those who are not in organized sector, there is no protection. So they have to leave behind their kids. And also, there is supply side issues as far as women or families trying to keep their family size small and
okay. Those are chronic. Those are again.
Those are chronic.
These are But I'm trying to understand.
If you want to know,
do you feel, if I may ask, do you feel that, or have you experienced that there's been any kind of scaling back of support, budgetary financial support to these schemes?
Yeah, I can talk about two states, Jharkhand and Odisha, neighboring states.
Yes.
In the neighboring state where we have pro-poor policies, we see in certain regions like western and southern region of Odisha, I think the services, there is a lot of scope for improvement of services, and probably there has to be community participation and grievance mechanism. And as far as Jharkhand is concerned,
yes,
in the ICDS centers, there is a scheme for take-home ration, but it's not being supplied regularly after the lockdown. Whereas in Odisha, they have been able to manage that.
Right.
So,
that's an important.
At least some khichdi program.
Yeah.
Can be started immediately. I think kids can be fed khichdi's outside their creches in winter months in the Anganwadis.
Yeah.
In the winter months, people like to eat sitting outside. So social distancing can be maintained.
That is an important.
Nutritious meals can be provided to them.
Right. So you just see that example just between two neighboring states. In fact, one survey, Hunger Watch survey, you got that graphic up, looked at hunger during pandemic. Their survey that they conducted, this was between September to October 2020 across 11 states, 27% went to bed without eating, and 71% said the nutritional value of their food has worsened. So it could be getting worse even as we speak. But Srinath Reddy, what was interesting is, coming back to where we started, that the numbers show, again, because this survey is only one part of it, is excluding several states, Hindi belt states and so on, but it's showing worsening parameters in what we often think of as better performing states like Karnataka, like Telangana, and look at Gujarat is right there on top in all these indices.
Well, if the attention slips from social sector programs and if you focus only on industrial growth as the main impetus for economic growth, then we'll certainly pay a price in terms of human development indices and particularly in terms of child nutrition.
Right.
And that is where I think the governments will have to be very careful. One of the...
Can I make a point here, please?
Yes. We'll come back to you in a second.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you in a second. Ritika Khera, Lalita Kumar Mangum, I know I'm coming to you in a second. Ritika Khera,
okay,
you wanted to come in.
Yeah, I wanted to speak about the disruption of services and, like you said, is there any evidence of things having gotten worse? Anganwadi workers, for instance, have been agitating across the country because their salaries are very low and they've been getting it with great delays. So that's one problem. And part of this is related to centralization of the administration. See, earlier, if the central government didn't reimburse the state could automatically, make some advance, and when the money came from the center, they would be compensated. But now, because of DBT, the money goes directly into the Anganwadi workers' account, so the state can't even step in because they're not going to be able to recover from the Anganwadi worker.
Right.
So in these ways, this centralization of control in Delhi, coupled with the unwillingness to click that mouse and transfer the funds, has created a lot of disruptions on the ground. And in 2020, now we've reopened malls, we opened cinema halls, but these essential services, and these are time-bound services. You have to get your immunization shot in that period. But there is no clear directive to reopen these essential services in Anganwadis.
Right. One thing, Lalita Kumaramangalam, I wanted to ask you again, not sort of getting into the politics here, but one of the things that people who study nutrition, particularly child nutrition or malnutrition, is the importance of eggs in midday meal schemes.
Yes, I was just going to say this.
And a lot of, I'm sorry to say that a lot of states that have stopped eggs happen to be BJP-run states, and that's the way the map is playing out. Now, should one overlook the sort of quote-unquote cultural or dietary sort of inhibitions, especially when it comes to something as crucial as child's nutrition?
No, I said no very clearly. The fact is that some of the biggest and considered amongst the best suppliers of noon meal schemes, I don't want to mention names here because that will really make it too political, have often refused to, include onions and garlic and egg. And the fact also is that there is documentary evidence to prove that in Tamil Nadu, one of the things that really pushed up nutrition levels was the inclusion of egg 3 times a week in the noon meal scheme and the ICDS schemes, and banana. These two are free. I mean, they are cheap, they are available throughout the country, and they're extremely nutritious.
Right.
I also want to point out that, the Poshan Abhiyan is supposed to cover 1,000 days. That means from the date of conception. And young women, or women, whenever they get pregnant, they're not really taught that they should go to the doctor as soon as they think that they're pregnant, and they should start having nutrition meal, because a large part of the development of the fetus and subsequently, of course, that child who's going to be born takes place in utero. And we are not looking into that. We need to involve women in this. At some time, let me make a quick point. At some time, Dr. Swaminathan had said that kitchen gardens are very helpful in increasing the nutrition of the whole family. Which is why I'm saying that CSR funds, in partnership with the local government, I'm not talking about state governments, I'm talking about local government. Because the Finance Commission is also sending a lot of money to the panchayats directly now. And training of women at the panchayat level must take place. Unless we train them, they don't know. So the involvement of the beneficiaries is crucial.
Prasanta Tripathi, let's get quick responses from everybody on this, starting with you, Dr. Prasanta Tripathi. We're talking about what is not working. In your experience on the ground, what is working? What are the models? Is there anything that's working?
During this period when malnutrition was becoming worse in the country, there were some very interesting interventions that was tried out. In Jharkhand and Odisha, several civil society organizations came together and ran a program of creches for children below 3 years of age, because Anganwadis don't cater to children under 3 years. 6 months to 3-year-old children come to a safe environment, safe drinking water, smoke-free environment, nutritious meals, early childhood stimulation. These kids, after the lockdown, even after the lockdown, with not so good supply of take-home rations, have continued to be healthy. So even and when this program was evaluated, it was seen that stunting, underweight, and wasting, there was improvement in all three. If there is deterioration in a combination of any three of these, it is called anthropometry failure. So we saw anthropometry success when egg was provided in the meals. Egg was supplied to them. And mother also gets some free time when the baby is being looked after in the creches. So I will very strongly advocate for creches for children under 3 years of age.
Srinath Reddy, very quickly, we are very short of time. What is working? Any state, any model, any design that you think is worth flagging?
Well, though it's a small state, Sikkim has shown remarkable improvement, and I think They've really focused on sustainable development and ensured that social services are very well maintained. And I think the models that Sikkim has adopted in terms of all-round social and economic development is something that we ought to be really looking at.
Okay, Sikkim is worth looking at. I don't know how much time I have. We have, okay, quickly, Ritika Khera, yes.
Right. So I think the introduction of eggs is really important. All the states, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana, are providing, but a lot of BJP states, unfortunately, fight it tooth and nail every time it is. So I'm glad to hear Ms. Kumar Mangalam say that, you know, she at least believes in it. I hope she can convince the government. The other thing about Poshan Abhiyan is that 70% of the budget is spent on ICT and community-based events. So a lot of the money actually is redirected into software and
ICT,
smartphones.
okay, information,
communication technology.
Right.
And these things are not necessarily enabling people to work. There are certain things which have established results. Eggs, we know, are good for nutrition.
Okay.
Real-time monitoring, it may be helpful, but you know, we're spending 70% of the budget on those kinds of interventions through Poshan Abhiyan.
That sounds excessive.
So to rely, yes, indeed.
All right, Lalita Kumar Mangalam, last very quickly, will you use your clout in the BJP to persuade your state governments and chief ministers to reintroduce eggs?
I will wherever I can. I have always used it, and I continue to, advocate. There's one last point I want to make here, where the gentleman before me, we need self-sustainable models of creches throughout the country.
Right.
What most people forget is that most poor women work. Now, unlike perhaps in other classes of economic classes of society, they actually work.
Right.
And their children are neglected because they work much harder than us, much longer hours with less food, etc.
Sure.
So we must India must develop a self-sustainable model of creches.
All right.
Regardless of whether it's public, private, government started, etc. We must have that too. That must come in the states.
Public sector must pay for the creche workers.
Public sector must pay for creche workers. All right, we'll have to leave it there.
Also, the CSR funds could be used. This 100-mile thing, rule perhaps should be allowed to be.
All right.
Madam,
you know.
Okay. Okay, we're out of time. Thank you all for joining me on Reality Check. And thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have. Good night.